Okay, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. We're reacting to Coach Lee today, and this is a very popular question. Should I ignore my ex? So we're going to go into that. Let's go.
Should you ignore your ex if you want them back? A lot of coaches will tell you
It is sped up a little bit, by the way.
to ignore your ex. It's kind of something that seems like it's in the same vein as the hard to get idea or the no contact rule. And a lot of people will even be confused. They'll say, wait a minute, but I thought I wasn't supposed to contact my ex. So Coach Lee, are you saying that I should respond to them? That doesn't make sense. Well, it does if you understand my no contact rule. And that is no contact is that you don't initiate, but you should not ignore your ex. And I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't ignore them if you want them back. And I'm also going to tell you what you should do instead. So first of all, if you don't want your ex back, if you just want to move on, get over it, or if you broke up with them and you're wondering if you should ignore them or not, if you don't want your ex back, it doesn't matter what you do. Ignore them, whatever. It's not about strategy at that point. But I can tell you this, that I know based on talking to thousands of people going through breakups, that ignoring your ex will lower your chances of getting back together with them.
Yeah, I mean, if you completely ignore them, they're going to be like, okay, so here's a common scenario. Somebody starts no contact, right? And a week will go by, 2 weeks will go by, and she'll say something, and then I'll get the question because the way my coaching is set up, they can ask me questions on Telegram. What do I do? Should I respond? Should I ignore? Or here's what's worse is when students will be like, hey, she reached out to me X days ago or weeks ago, and I ignored it. And now I'm thinking about saying something. I'm like, why did you ignore it? Nobody told you that. But it's just because I think people are getting an automatic idea of what no contact is. It means it's like they think that their ex is going to be begging them to come back. And it's not like that. It's a slow reintegration when it does happen. So if you completely ignore them, they're just going to move on too. Why would somebody do? Okay, here's how I put it. Do you like being ignored by anybody? Okay. And yes, I know you want your ex to hurt like you want them to feel like how you feel like, etc. And I get that. Okay. But if they reach out to you, you don't know why they're reaching out to you. You don't know what they're doing it for. So it's important that you understand that if you completely ignore them, you're most likely going to never hear from them again. But if you respond correctly and you do the right things by not trying to push them back into the relationship, you can actually do things correct. You have to raise attraction again. Anyway, let's go.
And here's why. First of all, put yourself in the place of your ex. If you broke up with someone, and then you realize that you want them back, that you made a mistake, do you think it would be easy to reach out to that person? If you're being honest with yourself, you will probably realize that it's not, that there's a lot of anxiety, even from the person who did the dumping. And a lot of times we only associate anxiety with the person who's been dumped. But
no, it does come from both ends. I've dumped somebody before. And I've had those thoughts of going back because I was like, man, did I fuck up? Did I make a mistake? And because you caused them pain, you're like, man, I don't know, man. It seems like a bad idea. It might not be a good idea to reach out to them. So you're dealing with anxiety as well.
Even from the person who did the dumping. And a lot of times we only associate anxiety with the person who's been dumped. But if you want your ex back, it's important to try to get in their head a little bit, to try to understand that it's not going to be easy for them either. And one of the reasons is because they don't know if you're mad at them. And if you've been doing no contact like you should have, then they don't know anything and they don't have any information to go on. And you see, that's a good thing because it allows them to actually experience the breakup and the seriousness of the situation, that they can't just flippantly toss you aside and then get you back whenever they want. That's not how you treat people. So your ex is learning how to be a better person, maybe. Also just life and what they want and what they've actually done. See, a lot of times a person doesn't really grasp what they've done, or they have become so used to the idea that it seems minimal. It doesn't seem like as much of a factor and as much of something that's going to affect them as it actually becomes. So no contact allows them to see that. But once they do, as I talk about in another video I have about what happens when your ex really has that realization moment. And I'll link to that video at the end of this one. But what it's like to actually be in that situation, to have that aha moment where it's like, I want this person back. This was a mistake. And so the video is actually called When Your Ex Realizes It Was a Mistake. And I'll link to that at the end of this video. But it's actually quite difficult for them simply because they don't know how you'll respond. And so
Exactly. So let me just pause it right there. I went back 5 seconds. So anytime I pause in the middle of him saying something, I will go back 5 seconds so you guys can. Again, I've done that, and I was in that moment. I was fearful that they would be like, "Go fuck yourself," or whatever. So if you had any kind of respect for yourself during the relationship, and they have respect for you, then you're going to be slightly fearful that they're going to reach out to you and do all that. They're how they're going to respond more like that. That's what I meant to say. Jesus Christ, I've been doing this all day. So
into this video, but it's actually quite difficult for them simply because they don't know how you'll respond. And so they're facing rejection, which you may be thinking, well, that's ironic because this person rejected me by breaking up with me. Breaking up with someone is the ultimate rejection. And so I totally get that. My point simply is now your ex is actually more on the same page as you as far as the seriousness of it, the anxiety of it, the pain of it. And now they associate the risk of rejection and the risk of loss with you. So that's a way that you get some of the power back, even though I don't really like that word in this situation. But more importantly, your attractiveness goes up simply because they don't know if they can get you. And so your value goes up simply because of the principle of supply and demand. And it's not just true in a free market economy. It's also true when you're dealing with relationships, because when someone is not easily gotten back, or when you realize you could lose someone, when you no longer take them for granted, that's when their value goes up, as it should be. You see, this is not an artificial inflation of your value. This is helping this person to see your real value, because a breakup is the ultimate form of taking you for granted. That's
isn't that how you guys feel? Right? I remember when I was going through my breakups, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like, man, I put in so much time, energy, money, effort into this person, even though I was the one that was fucking up when I got dumped. I felt like I was being taken for granted, and it sucked because I was like, man, how do I get this person to respect me and like me more? Because sometimes there was actually an instance where the girl broke up with me for a day and then came right back because I think she was just having second thoughts, and she was like, man, you know what? And it's especially when she's talking to her friends, and she's like, man, I'm feeling this way. But back then I was super, super complacent as well. Like I was like, oh, should I go back to school? Should I do this? And that's why, like, being a young man in your 20s, man, you have so much life to live before you get into a serious relationship. Like if I could put, my dad told me this exact same fucking advice, and I think a lot of parents will say this to you: worry about relationships later. But none of us listen, right? None of us fucking listen. I didn't listen to my dad when he told me that, and then I was like, man, I wish I never said this to myself. I wish I listened to my dad. But going back and thinking about it now, he told me girls will always be there. And it's funny because I'm where I'm at now because of those lessons, is for just this channel. Your 20s are meant to be lived, and even part of your 30s these days, because look at the way the fucking economy is right now, right? I'm in Canada, and affording a house in Canada is ridiculous. Okay. Right now. Right. And they had some sort of thing that when I was like 5 million new homes need to go up for houses to come back down. I think it's all bullshit. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's a tough time right now for a lot of people. And you should be focused as a man. You should be focused on increasing your individual value, your finances, your confidence, and all that stuff. That you're not just going to be able to increase your confidence like that. It comes from being competent in other areas of your life and feeling good about it. So, for example, if you have a great body, you're in good shape, you're going to be confident with that. And if you're great with women, which means you're out there prospecting, you're talking to multiple women, setting up dates, doing all that, then you're going to be good at that, right? So that was never really my problem either. A lot of guys don't really actually have that issue that I spoke to. They actually, their issue is sustaining that love and attraction over time, because a lot of guys get weak and needy throughout the relationship, and then the attraction falls down, and so does the love. My issue wasn't really dating either, and I got competent with that, and then I got competent with money. And the more your competencies go up, the better off you're going to be. And that's why I think you guys should focus on just dating, having a good time in your young years versus being in a relationship. However, I can't say that because I learned so much from going through all the turmoil. But I could have done what I'm doing now back then. But hey, who knows? I don't even fucking think about that. I don't get wrapped up in that anymore. I let all that shit go a long time ago. If you are young and you're going through this shit, I'm telling you, just focus on you. Go to the gym. I know that life is going to seem extremely simple. Gym, studying. So you can study women, you can study dating, you can study, like, just read, because you're going to get the experience from the people who are creating those books. It's like you're taking their mind and their thoughts on paper into you, and then focus on side hustles and money. Okay. Side hustles are going to be the way of the future. People are going to be doing freelancing all over the fucking place. Make sure you're working your fucking ass off. I got this advice from Eli, the computer guy, when I was really, really young. This was like maybe a decade ago when he was on YouTube. He's still on YouTube, but he said, if you're young, you should be working your fucking ass off. So anyway, let's continue.
Your real value, because a breakup is the ultimate form of taking you for granted. That's what's happened here. And so when your ex gets to that moment where they don't take you for granted anymore, when they realize, I potentially have really made a big mistake and I want to be with this person, that's what you want, right? So when they reach out to you, you should ignore them. That's what some people will tell you.
And sometimes, oh, and to add one more thing, sometimes individual life stresses will convince your ex or your girlfriend to leave you and break up with you. And they should know, okay, they should know better. Yes. But sometimes they do that. And that's why some people will come back so quickly.
Is do this to get your ex back, but when they come back, don't let anything happen. And they will tell you that your ex is just going to keep coming at you, that now all of a sudden you've gone from being a have not to have too much of this person. It kind of sounds profound and deep and wise, but I'm here to tell you from real cases, with having coaches, plural, on my staff who talk to people, and from having worked with 2 other organizations who had staffs of coaches talking to people. I'm looking at a mountain of evidence here. I'm not just saying what I think because it sounds good. And I'm not just saying it so that I'll get more clicks on YouTube. I'm telling you, based on actual cases, actual results, that when you ignore someone, you lower your chances. You make it a lot more difficult on yourself to get your ex back. And the simple reason is that once they feel that rejection from you, the first thought that they experience is that they have blown it. And all you can do then is hope that they try again, that they are willing to go through that potential rejection again. And some people will, a minority will. Somewhere around 30%. But even in cases where the person really wants you back, rejection is difficult. Trust me, when I talk to men especially, since they are the ones who are expected still today to do most, if not all, of the approaching, the moving of the relationship forward, the making the first move, all those things. Men are expected to do that. And so just simply because of that, they face most of the rejection. When I'm trying to explain the mind of a man to a woman who's wanting to get a boyfriend, and she's baffled by what she's experienced, a lot of times I have to tell her the reason it makes no sense to you is because you haven't lived the same life. You don't have the same experience. And of course, men don't have the same experience as women. We both are set up to misunderstand each other. But with women, a lot of times I had to remind them that this man most likely has faced somewhere around 10 times the rejection that you have. And that's a very conservative estimate.
And that's why women can't handle rejection very well. They simply don't get it. They don't get it a lot. Actually, it's quite the opposite. Women will get coddled, and I'm not saying all women, right? You know, come on, guys. I'm sure somebody in the comments is ready to fucking type at me. It's the opposite. Men face so much rejection, and we have to create our character and become better and stronger. Whereas women are told, "Oh my God, you're beautiful. Oh my God, you're perfect." Blah blah blah. And again, some women don't get that. Some women did not have that household, whatever. But society does not hold men. Let's just say this: society does not hold men's hands at all. Okay. And if you are a loser as a man, you will get zero sympathy from anybody. But as a dude, we do face a whole lot more rejection especially when a woman is coming back to you. And if you do ignore her, and that rejection, she's going to go, you know what, fuck it, and just move on from you if you ignore her. And women just don't handle rejection the same way as guys do. They just don't need to. Exactly like he just said, women don't approach guys and put themselves on the chopping block. They wait for guys to approach them most of the time. Okay. So all you guys have to do, for any women that are watching this, understand that men, again, they're supposed to reach out to you. They're supposed to approach you, but women will be like, where are all the good men at? Why don't they come up to me? Blah, 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 blah. And it's all about, the guys that have to go up to a table of women, for example. I want you guys the women that are watching this, there's very little of you, put yourself in a man's shoes and literally think about you walking up to a table full of women, right? And saying, hi, how are you? Because this is the kind of shit that happens, right? Now, Some people don't do that. Some people will wait for the woman to be on her own, go up and get a drink at a bar, whatever. But it's very difficult. I've seen some things online. For example, I was with my girlfriends and no guys are approaching me. And it's like, yeah, right. So anyway, let's continue.
Most likely has faced somewhere around 10 times the rejection that you have. And that's a very conservative estimate. Most men, it's more like 30 or 40 times, because if women will admit their experience with dating and relationships, most of the time it's the guy that makes the first move. Maybe once or twice a woman has approached, taken that first action.
I've been approached by a girl once, right? I wasn't interested in her, but she came up to me and was like, hey, like, and she grabbed my shirt and pulled me into dance, right? And I was just like, holy shit. Like, and it was really refreshing, to be quite honest with you, because I had done so much of the approaching, and I probably did exactly. He just said 30 to 40%, or sorry, 30 to 40 times more rejection versus her rejection. I did so much approaching in my between 18 and 24, and I did some dating too in there, but I did so much approaching during that period of time, dude. It was awesome and awful at the same time, because this is where I learned to not have attachments to outcomes, because there'd be girls that you want to talk to and approach with your friends and whatever, and fucking, you know, they couldn't. Don't buy. I learned another thing. Don't buy girls drinks at a bar. Okay. I know how awful and weird and backwards that sounds. However, every single time I've ever done that, it's like the women that are not interested in you, that aren't giving you any kind of choosing signals. Jesus Christ, I'm dropping this thing all over the place. They are just going to take the drink and just walk. Right. So let them show a little bit of interest in you before you go and immediately buy a woman a drink. Anyway, let's go.
Ask the man out. It's not as common. And so men have faced a lot more rejection. And each time it seems to just hurt more, and the anxiety actually builds. And I have to try to get these guys to understand that just because she's not taking action does not mean she's not interested, because in his mind, he's always had to take that action. And I'm trying to show this woman that just because he's not taking action, it doesn't mean he's not interested, because he's gun shy. He's so used to rejection that a lot of times men are assuming the answer is no. If you give any kind of friction, or it appears that you're not interested in any way. So when you play hard to get, for example, most guys now are trained to think you're not interested. Very few will continue to pursue you. And yet a lot of women think I'm supposed to play hard to get. That's another one of those ideas. It sounds great and it seems to work in Hollywood, but it doesn't work in real life. Now, that doesn't mean you should be easy to get, but there should be some progress. The other person should feel there's interest from you. And the same is true here, because I have talked to a lot of people who have reached out one time, and now they're wanting to get a coaching session. They're wanting to talk to me, or they're wanting to talk to Coach Ken. And they'll say, I reached out and he ignored me, or she ignored me, so I can't reach out again. And so I'm telling you, I'm letting you see into this person's mind. This isn't theory. I'm quoting people. They assume they can't reach out again because you ignored them. And while I'm certainly not saying that when they reach out to you, you should say, I'm so glad you contacted me. I've missed you so much.
Right.
My life has been over. You have just made my year by reaching out. You shouldn't do all that stuff.
Yes.
But ignoring them.
Exactly. Because look, if you guys start telling them, oh my God, it's so good to hear from you. Oh my God, I've been missing you. Let's pick up where we left off. You're going to get rejected so fast, because it's just too much too quick. When you guys are trying to, I hate to say when you're trying to get an ex back, because the only time they come back is when you're not trying. But when you are in that situation, and the more locked down you're trying to get them to be, the faster you're going to be told to fuck off. Okay. That's just the way it is. They don't want to be locked down after experiencing negative energy from you. If you think about it, the person broke up with you because they're tired of how they feel being with you, which is an awful thing, but it's true. So if you go, let's pick up where we left off, or I miss you so much, they're just going to be like, okay, look, whoa, easy. And what they really want to hear from you is just like, hi, will you respond? So when I talk to guys, right, that are like, hey, can I reach out? Right. And I can't convince them to do no contact, or, because I'll tell people what to do, but a lot of people will try to do things behind my back as a coach, because they still have a framework to break free from. And I said, okay, look, if you're going to reach out, you're doing it for information. Will this person even respond to your text message or call? Right. And if they do respond, how quick is it? What does it look like? And they always send me screenshots. So it's for information, because if that person doesn't want anything to do with you, they will ignore you, just like the title of this video is, right? And you don't want them. Again, when somebody doesn't want you, yes, you should just be like, okay, like there's the door. And that's where the whole Corey Wayne, let me know if you change your mind idea comes from, because you're telling them, oh, you're sort of saying, I'm not going to ignore you if you reach out to me, but you also have to communicate with your I almost said anger, with your body language and your actions, that you're not going to be walked all over either. Right. This is why you have so many people in the comments saying, just move on, just move on. But every single time I got dumped, I just lived my life. Okay. I went out into the world and started having fun again, started having positive people around me that were like, hey, man, I know you're going through a tough time, but let's go play some beer pong. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Right. There's going to be girls there. And it's not like I'm telling you guys to immediately start dating other women when you're hurt, because I have said that before, but I was comfortable not, I knew that I wasn't going to try to get into a new relationship. Right. I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to go have fun. And that's always how a relationship actually starts. Okay. That's what women do whenever they break up with a guy. They immediately go out there and have fun, and guys stay at home and sulk. Okay. For the most part.
Just made my year by reaching out. You shouldn't do all that stuff, but ignoring them actually makes it to where they assume they have blown it. And then you risk whether or not they're going to try again, whether or not they think there's any chance at all. And when someone ignores you, a lot of times your mind will even think they must be with someone else. And so a lot of times someone, even if they love you very much, they realize it was a mistake and they want you back, they'll say, I guess I just have to move on. I guess I just have to find a way. And they're miserable, but they assume you'll just ignore them. And so they think it's pointless to reach out to you. That's where you go from mystery to giving them an answer. And just because it's not the answer that they want, it's still an answer in their mind. They can't read your mind. As a matter of fact, if you've been using the no contact rules you should have, you were a mystery. And so they can't read your mind. And you are just hoping that they get some message from you ignoring them. If anything, the message they get is, you will get a negative if you contact me. And that negative is rejection. Because I don't have to tell you that if someone ignores you, if you texted someone and they didn't respond to you at all, is that a positive experience?
Right. So I tell this to my students, and I've said this in my videos before. Remember, they broke up with you and they got to the point that they're at because of negative energy, right? If they were happy with you, if they were feeling good, positive feelings, they'd still be with you. So if you come at them and respond with more negative energy, just like ignoring, right? And this is why if you start posting shit on Instagram, say for example, you have a social media like Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and you post like results at the gym or whatever, and you did that while in a relationship, and you did that, before you met her, that's okay. You can continue to do that. But what guys will do is they'll say, okay, I'm going to jump on Instagram and just start showing pictures of me with girls, hanging out, putting my arm around girls and shit. And it just makes you look like a fucking clown. So, again, and she's going to be like, well, okay, this guy's already got 10 more girls, what do I don't mean anything to him. So if you ignore and you do too much more negative, guys will freak out, like the whole begging and pleading, right? Say you did begging and pleading after, that's more negative energy, because she's like, oh, this guy doesn't respect himself, he doesn't respect me because I want space, etc., etc. So that's where that's coming from. And the more negative energy there is, the less it actually goes like this. It's like a fucking cliff. And you guys have to stop. Again, I've said this before, just stop doing negative shit when you're doing this. Okay. And that's why no contact is just the immediate thing to do, because you're going to stop yourself from doing stupid shit.
It's humiliating. It's frustrating. It hurts. And people don't like to be rejected. Men, women, Smurf. Nobody likes to be rejected.
Did this motherfucker just say Smurf?
And people don't like to be rejected. Men, women, Smurf. Nobody likes to be rejected. You may think, well, they deserve it because they broke up with me. I agree. But do you want to get this person back, or do you want revenge? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Because I can tell you, based on 20 years of doing this, ignoring your ex is likely to work well as revenge, but works very poorly if you want to get back together with them. I talk about this more in my emergency breakup kit, and I link to that in the description below. But just know that if you ignore someone, you are putting a negative in front of them that hurts. And as you know, with science and with your life, when you get punished for something, when you feel a negative, you are more likely to go in the other direction. It doesn't make you look like a challenge. It doesn't make you look like you are so busy and attractive. It just makes them think there's no hope and they've blown it and they might as well give up.
Let me also paint this picture too. You shouldn't be super available and having like all of these crazy conversations either if they just broke up with you. Okay. So this is where a lot of guys play boyfriend and they'll be like, oh, like, do you need, she'll be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And you'll be like, hey, what's up? So you don't ignore. And then now she's like, hey, can you come over and can you do this and this? It's like, no. So you have to understand, you have to stand up for yourself and understand what to do post breakup, which is try to see if they will see you, set some sort of date, set something up where they, you don't want to immediately do that. You want to have a little bit of texting exchanges to sort of warm it up, break the ice, so to speak. But eventually, again, like I said earlier, it's about information. If this person's coming to you and texting you, they're communicating, okay, like I do want to speak to you. But to filter out the idiots and the people who are just trying to waste your time, you try to set something up. This is what a strong man will do. Hey, okay, cool. Because they don't want to waste their time. I hate having my time wasted. It pisses me off, right? So what you're going to do is you want to say, okay, like, what's your schedule look like? So after your brief text exchange, because again, they're facing the chance of getting rejected by you after they broke up with you. So like he's talking about in this video, and a little bit goes, he's okay. Like when are you free this week or next week? Okay. If you put a decent amount of time too, it's going to make it seem like, oh, this guy's actually, doing some work. What is he doing? And then when she does see you again, you're looking for information. Does it seem like they're attracted to you? Because this is a whole other video topic, right? What a woman does when she's attracted to you, the whole preening, being in your fucking space. How often is she texting you? Blah, blah, blah. But if you set up some sort of time to see them, right? You're going to be communicating that you don't, that you mean business, that you're not going to be walked on and your time's not going to be wasted. And a lot of guys don't know to do that. So they'll just continue texting. Okay. I'm going to just have this back and forth because at least some contact is better than none. Right. So let's just peel back this complexity and go to simplicity. You want to see her and you want to see if she wants to see you. That's all you're trying to do. And if she's playing games, you're going to set up a date and she won't show up. She might flake or she might whatever, or she won't even set a time to see you. Okay. And if that's the case, then all you do is just say, okay, like have a good day. I got stuff to do. And you move on with your day. If they reach out, if they keep reaching out to you and they don't like commit to any kind of date, or they do and they flake, just let them do all of the communication after once or twice, right? Don't keep pushing yourself into their orbit when they reach out to you. Because sometimes people just do that just for a little bit of attention, just because they like knowing that you will respond to them.
What you need to do is to respond casually but politely, like it's no big deal. And if on that first message where they reach out to you, if they ask you to go have coffee, to go have lunch, to meet them face to face, that is a very good sign. It often means they're going to try to talk you into coming back to them. And there's some anxiety there. And so that's another reason not to ignore them. But if they, on the first message, are just saying how you're doing, or it seems like it's not a big deal, like they might even just say, what's up? I agree. That's pretty immature. But try to have a little bit of sympathy toward this person and that they don't exactly know what to say. They feel bad. They wonder if they can get you back. They don't know what's going on with you. And so asking what's going on with you, what's up, is kind of all they can think of. Sure, be disappointed that that's all they can think of. But understand that they're easing into this. If they want to get you back, they're certainly not going to start with that. I encourage them to. When I talk to someone who has done the dumping and she says, I want my boyfriend back, or he says, I want my girlfriend back, I tell them, no, don't do the no contact rule. People seem to think that's what they should do. No, your job at that.
I get that point. I get that too. Guys, so I dumped my girlfriend. I neglected them. I dumped them, or they dumped me because I neglected them. Should I do no contact? No.
Back. I tell them, no, don't do the no contact rule. People seem to think that's what they should do. No, your job at that point is to reach out and to be honest, to apologize, to ask if they will consider taking you back. But unless they've talked to me, they don't know that. And so a lot of times they ease into it. They see how you're going to respond. Do you respond nicely, politely, like there's some warmth there? And you shouldn't be too warm, but you shouldn't be cold either. Just casual and polite. Let them have the opening to do what they need to do. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying let it be open so that they can. And then when they do, when they ask you face to face, or they eventually get to it in text messaging. Again, show reservation. I'm not.
So that's where the whole let me know if you change your mind comes into play. Again, you're not making it super obvious that you're just waiting for them, because you shouldn't be, but you're also not saying, if you reach out to me, I'm just going to say, fuck you. Okay. So that's what you have to start understanding and thinking of.
When they ask you face to face, or they eventually get to it in text messaging, again, show reservation. I'm not saying you give it to them all at once, but say something as simple as, I'm open to that, but I want to take it one day at a time. I'm not sure. Something like that. Ignoring them will often feel like no, and you are unlikely to hear from them in most situations. So keep that in mind while you are applying the no contact rule.
Bounty.
Good video. That's a fire video. And it's honestly one of the most common questions that I get. That like, should I block my ex? Should I do this? Should I do that? It is very common. So let's take a look at some comments, because I like to just add a little bit more flavor. The no contact is a good. The no contact is a good instrument to help everyone move on, no matter what, if they come back or not. That's true. My last ex hasn't come back and I moved on. I've learned that it's not worth to wait for your ex, because the dumper likes to take their time, but sooner or later they will get an ego boost, especially if the dumpy becomes a mystery. I've been focused on myself for the past 7 months since she broke up with me, and I'm ready to start dating again, especially if they can understand the situations I've been through and we support each other. Trust the process and become your better version, and you will see how the tables will turn. I have to agree completely with that. And it's, again, people start doing no contact because they're like, okay, if I do this, I'm going to get this outcome. And that is outcome focused. So don't, don't sit around waiting. Just focus on you and focus on your mission. I'm talking mostly to the fellas in this video. The people who watch my content are mostly men. So stick to your mission. Everything falls into place when you stick to your mission. Okay. Stick to your mission, stick to your vision. What vision do you have for your life? Okay. Because if your vision is literally, I'm just going to go to work tomorrow and come home and watch some Netflix and Python games. If that's what your fucking mission is, then dude, you're most likely going to have quite mediocre relationships. But if you have something that you're aiming for, look, if your life is really, really simple and you're proud of it, you can still make relationships work just fine because of your energy and how you're coming off. But if you are just like lazy and you don't give a shit about what you're doing day to day and where you're going, you need a direction. Okay. So that she can support that. All right. See you guys in the next video. It was a good video. Subscribe and all that to him if you haven't seen his shit, and subscribe to coaching if you want with myself. But great video. Check out my original content as well. It is all there. Done.